this is just the tip of the iceberg.
A growing nightmare.
From kidnappers. Subject line, Denise Huskins kidnapped.
10 years later, the case still unfolding.
This is one of the greatest failings that a police department could do.
The detective who fought
Saw this blonde hair.
to protect the victims.
Who does this hair belong to, and are they okay?
Devastation following the LA County fires. The efforts to recover and help the survivors. Finding peace in an old passion.
This is my chance to get back to what I love doing.
The group helping athletes regain skills on the slopes.
It literally enriches lives.
That's coming up right now. KCRA3 presents The West.
Decades ago, The West was a regular show here on KCRA, giving us an opportunity to delve deeper into issues all across the western U.S. We reported on politics, wildlife, arts, culture, and the environment. And today, we're bringing that show back. Thank you for joining us here. I'm Edie Lambert.
And I'm Golston Dart. We're going to start with a story that has shocked the nation. New charges filed against Matthew Muller, the man convicted of kidnapping Denise Huskins in Vallejo 10 years ago. KCRA3's Michelle Van Door sat down with the woman who Denise says saved her.
It's what American Nightmare survivors Denise and Aaron Quinn have fought so hard for.
We are so grateful to have found a team in law enforcement who respects us, who values us as victims, and is willing to work with us and collaborate with us.
To be valued by law enforcement instead of vilified.
It was Denise and Aaron that lit the flame that started so many things in motion.
The couple has been instrumental in getting confessions from their attacker Matthew Muller in a half a dozen other crimes, many committed before their 2015 ordeal.
I really believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
To be honest, it's not surprising. He is a calculated criminal.
Lieutenant Misty Caruso was the first person with a badge to believe the Quinns.
To know that
Good afternoon, everyone.
victims got vindicated and got their justice is probably the greatest thing that you could ever ask for as a law enforcement officer.
Caruso's keen detective work outlined in the popular Netflix documentary American Nightmare.
My girlfriend, me, got kidnapped last night.
This is just like some of the stuff that we found in the back of in the trunk of the vehicle.
Pictures take her back to 2015 and the case that changed her career.
Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins has plundered valuable resources away from our community and has taken the focus away from the true victims of our community.
Vallejo police publicly condemned the victims.
It is Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins that owes this community an apology.
For what they said was orchestrating a hoax, faking the story of Denise's abduction, of both being tied up, forced to wear black swim goggles with duct tape, and drugged in the middle of the night. Denise showed up 2 days later, hundreds of miles away at her father's home in Huntington Beach.
The interesting part about this case and why it affected me so much was because nobody believed her.
At the time, Caruso was working with Dublin police investigating a break-in and attempted sexual assault. A cell phone left behind by the suspect led Caruso to South Lake Tahoe and a remote cabin tucked away in the woods. She secured a search warrant, her first case as a detective.
The more you looked into what was inside of the house, the more creeped out I got.
And outside the cabin, a stolen white Mustang with clues to crimes, navigation to a Huntington Beach address, the home of Denise's father, and inside the trunk, a nylon belt, black swim goggles with duct tape over them, and
I saw this blonde hair just one blonde hair. It was so random, stuck to it.
Caruso knew the victim in her investigation had dark hair.
You get the hair on the back of your neck that stands up and you're thinking, oh my God, like, you know, who does this hair belong to and are they okay? Was my initial reaction.
The rightful owner of the stolen Mustang mentioned Denise's case to Caruso.
Your heart stopped. You were just like, but then you read other articles and you watch other video where they're calling her a liar.
Caruso snapped this picture of Matthew Muller during his arrest, and investigators eventually tying him not only to the Dublin case, but also the Quinns.
I just can't even imagine how she must feel or how all the other victims feel out there that weren't believed.
4 months after Caruso stepped in that Tahoe cabin and 7 months after Denise and Aaron were kidnapped, Muller was indicted.
I just hope that we have all learned what we could do better in these types of instances.
3 years later, she would eventually meet Denise and Aaron, their stories forever tied together.
I could validate everything that she had seen, smelt, heard, all of it. So it was pretty intense, and I think we both needed that.
Now together, the Quinns and Caruso shared their story with law enforcement agencies.
My advice is to always lead with your heart, and if something doesn't feel right, then go with your gut instinct.
Trying to make sure victims are believed.
A lot of women are still hurting about their experiences with law enforcement and coming forward.
The biggest thanks Caruso received comes from Denise and Aaron, who wrote an acknowledgement in their book, Victim F.
When we thought all hope was lost and our lives as we knew them were shattered, you stepped in and saved us.
Together, they're trying to save the other victims Muller terrorized and wake up once and for all from this American nightmare.
It's so heartwarming to know that. I mean, I wish I could hug them all, but that they're going to find peace, like, because that's all we ever want. We want to live in peace, and I really hope that they get that one day.
Michelle Bandur, KCRA 3 News.
Reporters at the San Francisco Chronicle found themselves in the middle of the Quinns' original case after Matthew Muller started sending emails to the newspaper.
KCRA 3's Sarah McGrew spoke with the director of news, Demian Bulwa, who still remembers those moments like it was yesterday.
From kidnappers to Chronicle reporter Henry Lee, subject line, Denise Huskins kidnapping.
It's been 10 years since the San Francisco Chronicle was pulled into the center of what's now known as the American Nightmare case.
A woman was missing in Vallejo, and we didn't know much about it. Her boyfriend, her live-in boyfriend, had reported her missing, and so we jumped all over it.
Demian Bulwa was breaking news editor when Denise Huskins went missing.
So a kidnapping is just a huge story, and so you don't know what's going on. But you sort of throw all your resources at it.
The day after, former Chronicle reporter Henry Lee was at the scene when his phone pinged.
In came an email that just done in a minute. It said that it was from the kidnappers, and he immediately forwarded it to me and to the editor-in-chief of the paper. I mean, we didn't know what to think. I mean, a kidnapping is already very rare, and we've never received an email like this that says, you know, we're holding someone for ransom. And this email said that they wanted to show us proof of life. We were sort of like the go-between, the liaison to put this information out publicly. And it actually was a proof of life recording of Denise Huskins.
My name is Denise Huskins, and I'm kidnapped. Otherwise, fine.
They tried tracing the email with no luck.
Because she's missing, because there's danger, we just have to give it to the police as soon as possible, and that's what we did.
But they never heard back from the Vallejo Police Department.
And it was gripping the Bay Area that this woman is missing, but we're also dealing with the fact that we may be communicating with the kidnapper. And so that was just, every decision around that was us thinking about how that might impact the case.
When Denise turned up a few days later, things only got more complicated.
When police started saying this is a hoax.
I mean, we were stunned. I mean, it happened so fast. You know, we knew that the couple was saying that they were really the victim of a kidnapper. So we were shocked.
Then yet another email into the newsroom.
We received this massive 10,000 word sort of manifesto from the kidnapper. It's got pictures of the place where He says he held Denise Huskins. It's got, pictures from inside other people's homes, but the main part of the letter was saying, you have to tell the police that this was real. Like, this couple doesn't deserve this, which is a very strange thing for a kidnapper to say about their victim.
A decade and a Netflix docu-series later, the case is still infuriating to Bulwa.
Thinking about whether there are things that we could have done differently, we did put a lot of effort into revealing the truth. Ultimately, we're not the police, and we know now that the police had tons of information. This was a police department that almost willfully got it wrong.
So with that, does it shock you that there's so many more cases now popping up?
No, it doesn't shock me at all, because having read that 10,000 word manifesto, I mean, this is the person who doesn't seem to understand the sort of monstrosity of what they're doing. That's probably one of the most infuriating things, is like the crimes that happen later. And we know now that 2 weeks later, he's taking a ladder and he's going into another family's home and he's taking another person hostage and asking for tens of thousands of dollars. This is one of the greatest failings that a police department can do, is if someone that should have been stopped commits more crimes.
In San Francisco, Sarah McGrew, KCRA 3 News.
Mueller is serving a 40-year prison term for Denise's kidnapping. The new charges he's facing connected to the Santa Clara County home invasions carry a possible sentence of life in prison.
Well, back on the slopes, still ahead, the group helping skiers build strength and overcome life's biggest challenges.
Welcome back to our KCRA 3 special, The West. Heading to Lake Tahoe now, where skiers are rushing to hit the slopes.
Yeah, KCRA 3's Jason Marks shows us how one organization is making sure everyone has a chance to ski.
As the semester winds down at Sac State University,
Everyone is scrambling at the last minute to remember stuff that they don't remember.
the cramming for finals is just ramping up.
Right now, I think I have like an 80 in the class.
Sophomore Bassem Mansour's main focus is econ.
So I'm trying to make sure that my final is like either going to keep me at an 80 or bump me up, and it's not going well.
But on the horizon is a month-long winter break. Time for him to focus on his two life loves. One is a bit noisy, but he can do it from the comfort of his home. The other is in a place where he finds his comfort.
It's one of those things that it just makes you feel free.
The backdrop for Bass's relaxation is on the mountain at Alpine Meadows.
Pretty excited. Finally getting back on the slopes, so really happy about that.
Bass could barely walk when his mom Sylvie first got him on skis.
I remember he took a few lessons, and then the first time I took him with me on the slope, I was skiing next to him, and I had this feeling that this was going to be our thing.
A place where mom and son could bond.
And I thought, okay, really, this is the activity that we're going to keep doing forever.
So she thought.
All right. Put the dead leg over there.
Oh. But getting on the slopes is not nearly as comforting for Bass as it once was.
I feel very off-centered.
Four years ago, in the height of COVID,
it's just like a normal day to me, and he wanted to go for a bike ride before dinner.
Just a typical bike ride down a trail in their El Dorado Hills neighborhood.
And to get to the other side of the trail, I had to cross a street in a marina.
And as he was crossing the street, that normal bike ride ended up anything but.
I ended up getting hit by a truck that was hauling a boat, and I got sucked under the trailer, and I was dragged for about 50 feet. I broke basically every bone in my body, including my C7 vertebrae. And when I woke up, I kind of realized that the first thing that I remember when I woke up was, oh, I can't feel my feet.
Bass had more than a dozen surgeries over the next several months, not only to save his life, but to save his legs.
No one plans to go out one day and say, oh, I'm gonna break my neck and get paralyzed today.
In the year following the accident, Bass Mansour found himself in a very dark place.
I was thinking, like, why did this have to happen to me? And that turned into like a very deep depression, mainly because I was just in that dark spot of what is going to happen, because no one knew what was going to happen.
But in that dark place, he found a glimmer of light.
I remember getting home that day with the pamphlet in my hand, and I was thinking, like, this is my chance. Like, this is my chance to get back to what I loved doing. Whoop!
That chance came by way of Achieve Tahoe.
Yep. Sick.
A nonprofit that shines brightly for the disabled.
It literally enriches lives of families, our participants.
The organization was the first of its kind in the country.
We have a couple apparatuses in the lobby that will help you get boots on.
Founded to help wounded warriors.
It's 1967 at Donner Ski Ranch. It was a group of Vietnam veterans, and most of them came from Letterman's Hospital in San Francisco. And they coalesced under a guy named Jim Winters and all learned to become ski teachers, even though they were all missing legs or arms or eyesight, and it just grew from there.
It now helps nearly 1,000 people a year enjoy the ski season. This is a first for 7-year-old Dodge.
Here we go, bud.
He's so happy.
Dodge, who was born with cerebral palsy,
3, 2, 1.
is trying something new.
He's good, I got him.
We never thought that he'd be able to get on the slopes and be able to ski and participate in the way that he's being able to participate today.
But as Achieve Tahoe lifts up those who face challenges,
Head over.
it gives those like Bass a chance to challenge themselves.
It was a different ball game, and I was like, there was definitely a lot of frustration with it. All right, I'll give that a shot. That I was thinking, I was like, dude, like, I've been doing this for so long. Why can't I just get up and go now?
Life for Bass has become a game of adjustments.
There's also way less room for error. So you have to be you kind of have to be pretty precise with the movements. And also, like, the way it works, I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have fallen.
But what the 19-year-old now has is the ability to dust himself off and simply keep going.
Oh, it feels awesome. It gives me that same joy, if not more, than when I was doing it before I got hurt. So to be able to feel that again is a dream come true.
So what they're doing, what Achieve is really doing, it's giving people with what you can call limitation a take at pushing boundary again.
And what Achieve has also done is returned a bond mom and son thought they'd lost forever.
A lot of moms complain that their boys don't share a lot of stuff with them, but you know, when we're on the chair, it's easy to have a conversation. So I think that's very special. So I feel privileged to have that with Basson, and I think what we went through together, you know, through his accident and the recovery, it creates a bond that is very deep.
For photojournalist Victor Nieto,
it means everything.
Jason Marks, KCRA 3 News.
The majority of Achieve Tahoe staff is made up of volunteers. And in addition to skiing, the organization is also offering archery, sailing, and horseback riding.
Well, the road to recovery. After the tragic wildfires in Southern California, our reporter Melanie Wingo shares her experience after returning from the fire lines. Welcome back to our KCRA 3 special, The West. And this week, millions of Californians are struggling to pick up the pieces following those devastating fires in LA County.
KCRA 3's Deirdre Fitzpatrick talked to our Melanie Wingo after she returned from her coverage.
I'm joined by Melanie Wingo, and Melanie, every time I see you, I'm going to ask you another question about, you know, your experience down there. It's one thing to see these images on TV, but seeing them firsthand, what has really stuck with you?
The thing that sticks with me the most is the fact that there's so much more to see. What you're seeing on TV is absolutely just a fraction of the picture. For every home that you see destroyed, that represents thousands more. For every utility pole you see down, or for every tree that you see in the middle of the roadway, again, that represents hundreds more pieces of infrastructure or vegetation that is in the way and needs to be out of the way so that recovery crews can get their work done.
And speaking of recovery, you know, as soon as the flames go out, people start doing what they can. What do we know about in terms of like the signs of recovery, and what does it look like here for the next few months especially?
We noticed almost immediately once the flames were out in a certain area and there really wasn't much more to burn because the fire had blown through so many homes or businesses, we noticed that utility crews were jumping in right away. They were getting to business, down to business, trying to repair that critical infrastructure almost immediately. And then once they do their work, that's when the behemoth task of trying to tackle what's left at home sites begins, because they can't do that and remove all of that hazardous material from those home sites until, say, the water is back on or the power is back in place. So there's so much to do, and we've only scratched the surface.
I mean, we're talking years of recovery.
Absolutely.
Melanie, thank you.
And we want to thank our viewers for their tremendous generosity this week during our Wildlife Relief Telethon with the American Red Cross.
Yeah, together with our corporate donors, viewers across Northern California and the Central Coast raised more than $1 million to help those victims. We want to thank you for joining us for The West.
Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you next time.